Cristian, you don't need to watch the movie to understand how terrible and how horrifying the wars are. In particular, World War II and Okinawa, one of the worst war scenes ever. But Hacksaw Ridge does a very good job at giving us that understanding. And in this time, you see Desmond Doss doing his thing, looking after people, saving his friends, even the enemy, all that kind of stuff. It's wonderful. But who you don't see is God showing up. I mean, where is this God of love? Where is the God of Doss? He could intervene and sort of settle it all out, make sure that the enemy doesn't attack the Americans or the Americans don't attack the Japanese. He could have done that, but he chose not to. Instead, he allows this Desmond character to do the good. The only person seemed to be doing the good work there. Where is God at this time?
I think that's a question that a lot of people are asking themselves after watching a movie like this. And it's a question that people ask even without watching the movie in our own lives. We go through pain, we go through suffering, disease. I think just of cancer, it's a horrible disease that absolutely destroys lives and families. Where is God when he hurts? Why does he allow it to happen? If I was all-powerful, wouldn't I do something about it? I think that's a question that often puts people off guard. To explore this question, we're going to backtrack a little bit and ask ourselves an even more basic question, or the first question: why did God create us in the first place? Why do we exist? Now, to answer that, let me ask you a little bit about your own family background.
Right.
Why do you think your parents had you in the first place?
That's an easy one. To mow the lawns, to clean the kitchen. I don't know, they were bored one day and thought, it'd be good to get some servants. No.
Which is what every couple think, right?
Yeah.
We need some help around the house. Let's have children. We need someone to work for us in our old age. Maybe not, right? I know when my wife and I, after a few years of marriage, started thinking about children, it wasn't in the context of we need servants. It wasn't in the context of we need the baby bonus. They still had that back on when we had our children. It was really, we've got love to give and we want to share our love, our time, our energy, our limited resources, but everything that's ours we want to give to somebody else. And the Bible, if you look through a number of passages, but specifically Matthew chapter 25 and verse 34, it talks about from the very beginning God creating beings to give them his kingdom or everything he owns. Now you think about God who makes everything out of nothing. How much does he own?
The lot.
The lot.
Yeah.
Everything is his. So he basically says, I'm a God of love. And according to the Bible, to love is to give unconditionally. Right? It's not a transaction. If I give you something and expect something in return, that's business.
That's right.
Right? But love is to give of yourself something of value unconditionally to somebody else. And that's what God does.
Right.
He says, let me create a universe, an amazing universe. Just a few weeks ago, we discovered in science that we're looking at 2 trillion galaxies out there. That's a huge solar universe, right? God creates this to give, and then he creates beings and says, it's yours. I'm giving it to you. That's wonderful. It's like the richest man on earth saying, I'm going to have children so I can give them my wealth. That's not a bad thing, is it?
That's fantastic. All right. So he creates the world. He makes it really beautiful and puts us in it to enjoy it. But why all this mess?
You know, when you have children, wouldn't it be great if they did exactly what they were told forever?
Absolutely.
You go to them and you say, darling, it's time for you to say, I love you, Daddy.
Yep, punch it in, I love you, Daddy, play.
That's
It'll be
cute.
wonderful.
That's cute when they're 2, maybe 1.
Yeah.
But it's not the kind of family that people long for, that
Sure.
people aspire to. You think of friendships. Imagine being friends with a robot. Is that really friendship? Is that genuine love? Absolutely not. And I know there are blow-up dolls out there that you can buy in real-life robots. I mean, they might be a novelty for a few minutes. That doesn't warm anybody's bed. That's not fun. That's not exciting. That's not a genuine relationship.
Yeah.
What makes a relationship genuine and meaningful is the freedom to respond to the other person. So I choose to be your friend, and all of a sudden that's meaningful. Not you programmed me to be your friend.
Yeah.
You programmed me to say, Nick, he's the best. If he can't do it, nobody can, you know?
Yeah.
So God creates beings with freedom of choice. That's real love. That's genuine relationships.
Okay, well that's interesting. And I get that. So God has given us choice. And then we go and mess it all up. But he still could intervene, right? He still could protect us from ourselves, couldn't he?
Sure, but where do you draw the line? Where do you intervene? Where do you draw the line between freedom of choice and saving people from themselves?
Yeah, okay.
And if you tried to save people from themselves, or if God did that, what would we say to him? Well, you've made us robots, because every time we want to do something different to what you think is good, You slap us, or you tap us, or you freeze us, or you intervene, you put a barrier. So essentially, we don't have the freedom to do what we want.
So then why have a God? If he can't intervene and help us in time of need, then what's the point of having him around?
The question is not why have him around, but what is he doing?
Okay.
And as you read the Bible, you find that in the mess that we've found ourselves in, God says, well, it's there because of your own doing, right? It's like me choosing to drive through a red traffic light. I have freedom of choice. The government gives me freedom of choice. If I crash into somebody, whose fault is it? God, why did you let me do that?
Yeah,
Or the government, why did the government let me drive through a red light? No, that's my choice. But even in the worst of the mess that we've created, you look at Okinawa, was God pulling triggers there? No, it was people with freedom of choice. In the midst of that, God says, I have a solution. I have been doing something, I am doing something, and I will do something that will both show you my love, that will protect your freedom of choice. Because once I affect your freedom of choice, it's no longer fun. It's no longer love, it's no longer family, it's no longer friendships. We become master and slave, or robot and creator. But God says, I'm going to both protect your freedom, show you love, and get you out of this mess. And if you'd like to know more about that, I'd encourage you to go to faithofdoss.com. Look at the study guides there, and there's one entitled Origin of Evil. And we've really just scratched the surface talking about love and about freedom of choice. There's a lot more to the story, and you can find that out in the study guides.